What is going on, YouTube? Taylor here from OA Cheddar, and thank you for checking out the Cheddar podcast. In this episode, Grant and I dive into some online arbitrage leads. We dissect them using Keepa, and we also go over some sources that we found were actually fraudulent and how you can identify those sources, and giving you some really great tips in that regard. We also answer some great questions that we had from our live guests that were with us on the call. Remember, if you want to join us live, go to oacheddar.com, put in your email address, and opt in to receive the emails when we go live so you can be part of the live experience. But before we jump in, I want to hop out and give you guys an exclusive offer to those who are watching us on YouTube, and that is a promotional code for 50% off your first month of any OA Cheddar lead list. So just head on over to oacheddar.com, select one or multiple lists, and at checkout, use the promo code YouTube50 and receive 50% off your first month subscription. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode just as much as we enjoyed shooting it. So let's dive on in, and I hope you enjoy. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cheddar podcast. I am joined with my co-host Grant Dunn and older, better-looking brother nowadays. Because Grant, you've been slimming down. I'm noticing it. I see it in your face a little bit. I really respect the fact that you have just the solid beard with the brown in the middle with the gray. I don't know how naturally you got like a good color change there, but it's like a two-tone thing. It's pretty nice. We're excited, guys. We have some OA Cheddar leads that we have pulled out. These are leads that we have never delivered before. There are some good ones. There's some not so good ones. The whole idea here is let's just talk about some OA leads, break them down together. These leads are exclusive for these calls. You can source them if you want, but this is going to be streamed out on YouTube. So odds are these leads are not going to be super actionable after this gets published. The thing is, though, I try when I pick out these leads to not pick out some of the best stuff, right? We don't want to share out the gold gems. We want to put those on your lead list. So if anyone's watching this and wondering like, oh man, they're just kind of exposing leads. Like, I like that lead. I wish I would have had on the list. Know that there are better leads that we're putting on the list. And we just we want to get you some good stuff to go over, but not the best of the best stuff. So that being said, Grant, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Taylor. Doing real good.
Nice.
You know, I got up, I slept. I worked late last night. And so I slept in a little late this morning. I'm trying to get up like in the 6 to 7 o'clock range. I ended up pushing it to 8 because that was 8 hours for me. Mm-hmm. But I still got a hike in, right? And I hoofed it because I was like, I got 2 hours. I want to get a hike, other things, shower, right? And coffee and all that good stuff. And so I went and I hoofed it. I think I cut my normal hike time down by about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm proud of that. Nice. And then I took a cold shower after the hot, delightful shower of, getting clean. I finished it with cold, which I'm getting better at doing. Right. And I noticed that I'm a little peppy when I take a cold shower. The pep is up. Right. It helps to drink, 24 ounces of coffee, within the first couple hours too. But anyway, before good, man, how are you?
I'm doing good. I will say I did not wake up with a bunch of pep in my step. I woke up more groggier than I normally would. I did a little stretching this morning, which was nice. But I got, before we dive into the leads and stuff, I was thinking about this last night, and you've been really active with your workouts, eating right, getting out, getting movement involved. And I personally have not nearly as much as I should. And I'm curious, since you've been really doing this now, you've been doing workouts now for the last couple of years, but you've really been honing in on your diet and making sure that you're getting a good amount of activity. Has that improved? How would you say that has affected your work energy, your mentality, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in mass experimentation mode, right? Like I'm experimenting with fasting, which is I can do for a couple of days, and then I tend to kind of slip up. I'm also experimenting with ice cream, on occasion because, hey, it's hot out. No, I'm kidding. But I'm actually not kidding. I've experimented with some ice cream. But, it's interesting because as I got so much to learn, right? But as I experiment and test new things out, or I go have a really good streak, like a week or 10 days of just like absolute dialed in on the diet, things that I'm actually consuming. And then if I veer off the rails, it's like, man, my gut could turn on me. And I'm starting to like realize that, as I treat my diet, as I treat my body well with my diet, when I don't for a day or two, it like really turns on me and is revealing. It's revealing to show like, wow, I used to kind of eat junky pretty consistently and never felt this way, but maybe I kind of just always felt this way, like just this underlying like illness that you're just used to. And then you start to feel really, really good because your veggies, fruits, proteins and all that stuff, and kind of not doing too much dairy and, maybe gluten or wheat, stuff like that, and sugar. And then all of a sudden you introduce it and it's like your body really kind of screams at you. So that's something that actually happened to me last week. I think maybe corn product is messing me up a little bit. But in terms of your question, right? Your question was, how is it impacting work? Dude, I am like super stoked about selling on Amazon right now, and like there was over the last 4.5 years and, or 5 years, previous 5 years, as many people know, I was doing a supplement brand and in a unique niche and all this stuff, invested a lot of money and a lot of time in 5 years into that. And that really diverted, or, I've realized now that I did it for too long and should have cut the cord way sooner, for financial reasons, but also just, I was talking to my wife yesterday, is like how, that business really robbed, my other businesses of me, even the Amazon store. It's like, it was all just kind of secondary stuff on the back end. I didn't care, like really, I cared about it, but not enough to like really I couldn't really invest my time into it. And now that's sort of flip-flopped. I've closed that other business, stopped investing time and money into it. And now I get to invest time and money into the Amazon store and really serve in our community, which is what, I don't know. It's been, I've had to grow and force myself to make some personal changes just to even get to the point where I'm excited to do this stuff again. And, all together, the diet, the working out, drinking a ton of water. Getting sun, man. Look how tan my face is, just being outside, playing with the kids on the weekends, going out to the river and to the lake and swimming and goofing off and just being outside. I think all of that's just really feeding into this. And to give you, I can give you some stat updates that, like we talked about it maybe earlier this week, but
yeah, let's do that. Let's check in a little bit while you're pulling that up. The reason why I even asked these questions, I noticed, especially this last week, we do team meetings every single week with different departments inside of OA Cheddar, and then also as our team for our FBA store. And I've noticed that your energy is higher, but also you seem more excited, right? You seem kind of just like, I guess happier might be a better word to use. Like you're excited to meet, you're smiling a lot more. And part of it is, I'm sure, is with the stats that you're going to be sharing and kind of how our goal is to grow the Amazon business, double the output that we're doing now. And our goal is to try to hit 200,000 a month in sales on average. But also a big part of it, I think, is your diet. You've been sticking to it as well. And so I say that for everyone who is watching, there's lots of ways that you can boost the return on investment in your business. And you can do that with capital and all these other things. But you as the business owner, your own personal self, making sure that you're investing into your body, your mindset, and clearing the stuff out that you don't need, clearing the stuff off the plate that you don't need, right, has a return. And as the leader in your own business, you need to be kind of the one leading the charge. And you can't do that if you're feeling sluggish. You can't do that if you're distracted on other businesses or other opportunities. You can't get it if you're not feeding into your soul and feeding into your family as well. it starts to kind of wear at you. Not one person can't do one thing. How do I put this? You can't do everything well if you're focused only on one thing, right? It's a mix of a little bit of everything, right? Work-life balance, diet and health, and then also just mentality, absorbing good content, that kind of stuff. So I've noticed that with you, it's more of an inspiration for me to be like, man, I need to kind of get out a little bit more. I need to maybe check what I'm eating. Last night we had roast beef and I had a lot of potatoes with that roast beef. And maybe that's why I'm kind of waking up today like, oh, I overate last night and I'm feeling it this morning. So anyway, let me pass it back over to you. I need to go shut my window because I forgot to shut it before this call. And there's some big old trucks that are driving by right now. So I'm going to hand it over to you while I go do that.
Cool. That sounds good. No, I think that's great advice. There's a lot of ways to get an ROI on your business or just in your personal life. And it doesn't always have to just be, working harder, working more hours, or investing more money into your business. It can be, changing your diet, going for a walk every day, or even just going for a walk 2 or 3 times a week. Blood flow to the brain is super optimal. And as we have a family member, I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but a family member that's, dealing with Alzheimer's now and leading into dementia very quickly. The topic in our family of getting blood flow to the brain, eating healthy, stuff like that, it's like super important. You don't want to be stagnant. You need to move your body. And it impacts so much more down the road. So some updates. You guys know that I'm on a mission right now, ideally to try to double the size of our store, like go from the $100,000 a month range, 110, whatever it's been. It kind of fluctuates up to like 200,000. That's the ultimate goal. And I think we're moving in that direction. As I do that, I have also tightened the reins a little bit on the repricer. I was really being sort of more aggressive than probably I've ever been with the repricer, using some blanket strategies to just kind of making some blanket changes to all of the listings that were applied to a particular strategy. And that moved a lot of inventory out. But then as I did that, I kind of looked back and like, you know what, I probably moved a little too much stuff out and could have held on to this stuff a little longer and should have, or just kind of not been that aggressive. Who knows? Yay or nay? I don't really know for sure if that was the right move. Point is I've pulled back the reins quite a bit. I'm actually probably being a little bit more conservative now than I've ever been with our repricer. And so sales have slowed down. So we're not really working out of $100,000 a month, but our inventory is just about to significantly increase. In fact, over the weekend, we had about 260 or so listings actually get checked in at Amazon and activated inside of our repricer, so we could actually set pricing on it. Now, that inventory isn't necessarily active for sale. It's probably still in that back ordered status or whatever on Amazon, or maybe not even active on Amazon currently, because it could be fulfillment transfer or whatever. And this is just from my experience. You check in listings and you don't really get to reap the benefit of selling those for a week or two out, because FBA takes time. And so, so we went from like 600 plus listings. We've been running around 600, let's say on average, 650 listings active in the store for like the last year or so. And that fluctuates, but now we're at like 950-ish, 930-ish. And there's a lot of inventory still on the way. So just to give you an idea of where we're at currently, and I will tell you, we probably have more inventory. We have so much inventory on order right now, probably $50,000 worth of inventory from one source. Over the last week, we spent well over $10,000, probably close to like $15,000 on one source. Yesterday on another source, we spent, close to $10,000. I came in behind that Charles Taylor and spent. My wife was like, "Bro, chill," and I'm like, "No, not doing it. Going for it," And so there's a ton. Like if I went and looked, it's probably at least $50,000 worth of inventory that's like on order, on its way to the prep center or at the prep center. In fact, we had, I think it was, Taylor, what was it like? How many units did they ship in one day last week?
On Thursday, it was like 930 something units that they got out in one day, which I was like,
That's a
boom,
lot.
blown away. Yes. Which also means that our prep center costs just went down a good chunk too.
Well, yeah, because so they have tiered pricing. 2,000 units or more a month, you get a 25 cents off a unit, which is $500. And then if you get up to 4,000 units, which who knows, we might be able to start hitting 4,000. That's what I'm kind of hoping is we get to the 4,000 unit per month range, and then we'll get another 25 cents off. Which I guess at 4,000 units, what does that come to, Taylor? Double, so about $1,000 in savings. An additional, total of $1,000, an additional $1,000 in savings. Well, heck yeah, let's go. Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Your little light bulb just clicked off in your brain. Be like, we need to go buy more stuff.
We need more. Want more stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of like I've actually like it's almost dangerous. I am like getting addicted to spending money on the Amazon store. Like I'm like I'll go watch like a little bit of the Mariners game for like 10-15 minutes, and then I'll sit there and I'll start shaking a little bit, and tapping my foot and being like, oh god, so that sale's not over for another 2 hours. I think I need to go back downstairs, and I will, and I'll just end up going back downstairs. And is my mic messed up, or am I too close to it, or what?
Too close, or get closer.
Get it closer. Okay. All right. Is Taylor right, guys? Do I need to get closer to this microphone?
It's only every once in a while you kind of back up a little bit, and I lose you. Not lose you totally, but I got to kind of listen a little bit harder.
And I got to get better at that podcast skill. Okay. So anyway, rant over. Was probably good that you interrupted me. I need to shut up. Cool. All right. So inbound right now. So there's currently 69,900 of Amazon in stock. That's how much it buy cost. That's the buy cost. So about $70,000 buy cost. That's there at Amazon. And then there's another 32,000 or 32 and a half that is on its way to Amazon. And as I said earlier, there's at least 50, probably more, probably quite a bit more that's in somewhere between the supplier and the prep center getting it shipped out. So there's a lot. We've invested a ton. And so on the Amex, okay, and I've got another card that I use as well. But just on the Amex, I'm just make sure it doesn't log me out while I'm talking. This is like where we do, I would say 99% of our spending really happens on the Amex. And it's telling me that you've spent $93,343 and some change since June 25th. So, yeah, dude. And normally in a normal given month, we're probably somewhere between 50 and 60.
Yeah.
So we're at least over that by, $30,000-$40,000. And that was the goal, right? Our goal right now is to try to spend $100,000 a month. That's not the goal. It's just shy of the goal. And we're doing what we can to attain it. It's difficult to spend $100,000. At least it's difficult for us. I think as we continue to scale out with VAs, like we are we're not bringing in VAs to buy for us yet. I don't know if I'll ever do that. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't, but we are working with a VA to help us with order. Prep center management. Prep order reconciling, prep center management, just basically being the go-between between what we ordered, what we have on record in emails, credit card statements, and Cheddarsoft, and the prep center. Like basically just managing all of that, making sure everything gets audited or reconciled properly so that we're not, losing money or spending money that for inventory we never got, or making sure that returns get handled and stuff. Because as we scale, that's becoming an increasingly large project. Of course, obviously, if you double the store, you're going to double the workload on that end. And Charles is normally responsible for that, but we're bringing in one of our virtual assistants to help manage that. And I'm actually meeting with another virtual assistant that we've worked with in the past this afternoon to help me essentially save time on finding more replens, right? Finding more things. Because that's a big part of what I'm doing is personally what I'm doing. And it's been really easy with a couple of sources that had some big sales this weekend. We're not going to get into that too big, but just going through orders, right? Like, hey, this is the stuff that we're selling today. Let's go run a search through Cheddarsoft and see if it's something we can order now, or that maybe we should set a tag on. So just basically training a VA to do that, and then every other little nook and cranny of some level of reconciling, deleting old listings, managing account health a little bit. I have a whole document that I've been writing out. So.
A lot of folks talk to us about like, hey, when should I get a VA, or I want to get a VA to start sourcing for me. And that's usually like the first thing that they think about is like, I'm going to get a VA to come in and start sourcing products and buying products. And I've always been against that, right? I always think that you should have your VAs do other work, and you, the business owner, should be the one sourcing the products. You're the Amazon expert. You're the one that has the experience, and it's your money, right? Trusting somebody to say, hey, here's a budget. This is how much I want you to spend a day. And then just sending them off. When you're working closely with them, they're finding good stuff. But after a while, if you step out and kind of let them go on their own, I think it's a natural thing with employees. In general, they don't care as much as you do as the business owner, and they start to make purchases just to hit that spend budget that you've put to them. And so, which is why we are not doing that. We're finding all the areas where it's like, hey, we can manage our prep center, but that's not making us any money, right? We can handle some of the back end stuff on Amazon, but that's not making us any money. So perfect way, if you're looking at hiring a VA, I would recommend that you start with one simple tasks that are not, that they don't need to have special access to your, bank account information or anything like that. Stuff that you can kind of see like, okay, does this person follow direction well? Do they stay organized? That kind of stuff. But the last thing you should outsource is the sourcing aspect of your business, making the buying decisions on what you're actually going to be selling. And I love the fact that you said, like, you're getting addicted to spending money. You're getting addicted to sourcing, right? How many people would be in a much better place if they were addicted to sourcing? And some of the best Amazon sellers that I know, and the ones that had a lot of success without having to build a team, right? By just working with a prep center and themselves, they were addicted to sourcing. They were addicted to rabbit trails. And then after they did that for a few years and they were just absolute experts with it, they slowly started bringing in people to help kind of replace them in that area. And I don't know. I just want to say that, like, don't take yourself out of the part of your business that's going to make you the money, right? That's where your focus should be on is money-making tasks and opportunities, and sourcing is the bread and butter, the easiest way to do that. And then everything else that comes along afterwards, in this process of FBA, find those areas where you can, like, okay, I could put somebody in here. I don't want to I don't want to do reconciling. That's just taking too long. Let me put somebody else on it. And so,
yeah, I agree. I mean, the number one income producing activity in a scale of business that's, let's say, sub 3 million a year is going to, that the owner still probably can do at that scale, unless they're really trying to push towards like $5-10 million a year. I would say that the number one income producing activity is sourcing. It's buying the inventory. And I think you can have virtual assistants tee you up, right? Like, if you have the nice thing about OA Cheddar and the position we're in is we have all the data. We've collected it. We've shared it with all of our subscribers, and we have all the data. So we have that at our disposal. And that's why I keep saying, like, OA Cheddar is the perfect source for a 7-figure store, because I think we're going to be able to do multiple 7 figures just with OA Cheddar by just flexing and squeezing the lemon in different ways. Yeah, I think that's something I've discovered and had to realize too, is like, if I'm going to come in and do one thing, it's, and to scale the store up, it's got to be the buying. I've got to come in and invest more time into buying. Like, we got shipping outsourced. Great. I'm even thinking about, where to optimize and save money there. Because I've mentioned how shoes are kind of expensive at the prep center we're working with. And there's other prep centers that'll do it for less than half of that price. And I think that could be good. But I'll explore that when the time comes. Or as I move forward. I've even talked about bringing, and again, this is dangerous, right? Based on what you just said, is I've talked about bringing in shoes to my house and prepping them myself. But at the end of the day, is that worth, I don't know. I have to really be careful. Like, how much money am I saving? Is this worth $100 an hour of my time? Or should I be spending all of my time sourcing to try to spend that, $100,000 a month on it? Anywho's, Yeah. So no, that's a good point. I think there's a lot to outsource, and I think there's a lot of ways to use virtual assistants to help you with sourcing, but not actually like running your, like making the final decision.
Right.
Because there's a lot of nuances. Like there's some things I'm buying right now where I'm like, the profitability of this is not great, but we're at the end of July. It's August, June, July, August, September, October. So in about 4 months, right, we're going to be in like peak season, right? Peak season, not just Q4, right, but the peak of Q4, and things are, and as we go into that early part of December, things are really going to start flipping. And so I've got 4 months of lead time right now to go buy stuff that maybe makes some profit now, and if my repricer can catch it at a good profitability and sell it for good for me. And if it doesn't, there's a high likelihood that I'm going to sell it for significantly more anyway in 4 months. And I know that's, people need to turn and burn, right? But also, this is probably the earliest that I've ever personally been thinking about December, right?
Mhm.
Normally it's like I wait until, mid-October and I'm like, oh, let's buy, Q4 stuff. Well, by that time, a lot of the best stuff for peak season that's going to have inflated prices right at the turn of, Black Friday and into the early part of December, it's all sold out. It's not for sale
Right.
anymore. You're not gonna be able to source those things. And so I'm buying those things now and saying, I'll set the repricer. If it catches it, great. And if it doesn't, I'll wait for it to sell it in 4 months. And that's not that comes with experience, right? A virtual assistant in most cases is not going to be able to catch on those things. I'm going to be afraid to spend your money on those things. And if you're just totally detached, you're going to have no idea that they're saying no to really good stuff. So, or saying yes to junky stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway, we should probably jump into vetting some leads, huh?
Yep, absolutely. Let's jump in.
We're about a half hour in. So, all right, here we go. Let me get share screen here. Cool. I assume you can see this.
Yes, sir.
All right. Vitneo sounds.
Remember,
All
we
right.
want to zoom in our screen, especially when you get into the Amazon listing.
Oops.
Perfect.
Probably be good. Yeah. Cool. So Vitneo odor eaters foot scrub looks like a perfect match. That's fine and dandy. 896. Wow. It's a big price difference. Almost too good to be true. Okay, here we go. So it is a $6, $8 item. Amazon used to carry it. They don't any longer. Okay, so obviously Keeper looks great. Like we want to get in on this action. We can't lose even in the last year of history. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm checking off the list. If I come in here in 896, it's a winner, right? Let's make sure that like it hasn't been changed into like a multi-pack. It'd be something I'd kind of wonder about because of the high price and people actually buying it still. But I don't think that's the case. And I could dig in a little deeper, but I won't. The next thing I'm probably going to check is this source because I've never heard of this source before. Vitneo.
So Grant's just taking the name, bringing it over to Google, putting a space in between the .com and the name of the source, and then searching reviews.
6 total reviews, and it's not looking totally good. Probably a scam. Don't use this site. Scam company. Placed order, never received. Stay away. Scam. Place an order, never got confirmation. Was trying to chat. Okay. So that's not sounding too good. Scam advisor. Boy, that's big on my screen.
That is really big.
There we go.
There it is. I was going to say.
There we go. 41 out of 100. 4.9. Trust score is low, but somehow there's good reviews. But again, reviews can be fake, right? Just like followers on Facebook can social media channels can be fake. Taylor, you've already looked at this one. Is there any other quick, other than the reviews?
So if you hop over to the source's website and you were to search the address, and we'll just save the time here because we're already running a little late on this. If you were to search the address, it pulls up a business, but it's not VetNeo, right? It is, there's a Target, but then there's also like a dermatology business. It's that building, I believe, right there. And so that's one clue. And then the other thing, you have Scam Advisor, you also have Trustpilot. Okay. If you go to the social media accounts for this website from their store, it's up the top left corner on the top menu, Grant, it says social links. Something I noticed with this, if we go to the Facebook, you'll notice that they don't allow comments, right? And you can't see things. So, you have here 3.2 thousand followers. You're like, okay, that looks, really good. But as you scroll down, you see that they've limited who can comment on these posts, right? So that's a weird thing to me, right? If you're a business, you want people to be engaging on your social media accounts. You don't want to hide that kind of stuff, right? And there's no context in the post. All it is just URLs. So that was something I also noticed. And then if you hop over to the Instagram, and you can hop over to the Instagram right from their Facebook page or from there.
I'm not really much of a Facebook guy. What do I do to go straight over to Instagram?
Scroll down to it's like in the details page right there. Yep. Instagram. Right.
Instagram right here.
The little camera. You can tell Grant doesn't have that many social medias.
Not really.
So when I took a look at their social media, it made me, if I scroll through and I look at the followers, right? 34,000 followers. So it's like, okay, well, that's a lot of followers on this listing. But hop over to the followers and open them up.
I can't.
Oh, you can't.
Because I don't have a.
Well, here's I'll just kind of
let you know what, but I don't want to.
I'll let you know what you can see. You'll notice that everyone who's following them has very few followers themselves and are following thousands and thousands of other accounts. Okay.
They're fake.
Yes. Big clue. Now this is a really good fake website, right? The website itself looks really good. Their socials have followers on them, and those followers have American type names, English type names. But as you scroll through, you just notice, okay, hey, all these accounts are following like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 accounts, but they only have 9 or 10 followers themselves. Right. And I was like, okay, big bone, bogus. The one thing I didn't search, I didn't search the phone number. And I also didn't call the phone number to confirm. The Trustpilot scores was, reviews was a red flag. The address was a red flag. The social media accounts were a red flag, enough to where I wouldn't trust sharing this lead, which is also why we blacklisted the source. So that way, if somebody on our team stumbles across this website in the future, we're not sharing it. The other thing too, if you go back to Scam Advisor, Scam Advisor they show you reviews. Yes. Notice how they have 39 happy reviews, 1 negative review, but looking at the negative highlights and the positive highlights right there, I like to look in that section as well. So scroll down just a little bit, Grant.
Oh,
right
here,
there. Yeah. What I see is registered contact address is a free one. So they don't have a domain type email address that's registered for the website. They also are a very young website. Okay. And the website is very young and has a suspiciously high number of reviews. Okay. So I really do like Scam Advisor as a place to check sources because they give you this type of information. And like the fact that, hey, this is a young website, but it has an extremely high number of reviews. That's really weird. Right. But then also has a high percent of spammers and fraud sites. So as you guys are sourcing, you come across a source that you're not familiar with or it's not common, do your due diligence, check all the stuff out, Google it, check the social medias, check the address, right? Sometimes you'll run across some really good OA sites that are small businesses or regionally owned, businesses that have 4, 5, 6 stores. They don't have a great e-commerce website, but they are a retail location and they do fulfill orders. And so checking things like addresses and stuff may clue you into not only bad sources, but also sources that are actually good, but they don't look very good on their website. Their website's very cheap, very outdated, but they are legitimate. And so digging in, you can open yourself up to a few of those.
Yeah,
so let's move on to the next loop.
I'll point out that there is risk in buying even from a small business, right? I mean, if you have to go to Amazon and prove authenticity and you have a Target receipt versus a receipt from a business down in, Main Street, Tennessee, and it is legit, it's a real company, right? Which one is more likely to help you get, prove authenticity? Obviously the Target receipt. So there's already risk in that in and of itself. But then if it's, but it's a whole nother level if they don't even have like a storefront or they're not even there's no evidence of them actually being a real company. There was a source Taylor that I was looking at, and everything looked sort of not great until I went to their social media and I'm like, oh, they have a retail store and they make videos on a regular basis of walking through their retail store with faces and names and everything. I'm like, this is a real business. It's a small business and it might be a little risky buying from them just because they are a small business in Podunk Town, right? But at least they're that, right? And not some, foreign actor who's, trying to rip off Amazon sellers who are hoping to make, a nice profit on a tube of silicone or whatever that was. And I think that's also something to consider too. When it is too good to be true, sometimes it really is. And so dig in, right? If it's 100% ROI and it's from a source that's not, already been accredited, dig in. The other thing I will tell you is the nice thing about Cheddarsoft is if you're a subscriber to OA Cheddar 1, we put all your leads into Cheddarsoft for you. And you can dispute leads, right? You can report leads like this. If we accidentally give you a source where you're like, I don't think this is a good source, you guys should know about this. You can report that to us. We'll review it. We will respond to you. And then we can mark the lead as disputed so that all other users in the system are aware of that dispute and of that, and can be, basically cautious of that supplier.
Let's show how you can do that real quick. And you can do this really quickly on every single lead. There's an actions button in the top right corner. You say report error. You give us the reason. Our team will pick up that reason, and we may blacklist the source for future leads. We may, we may come back and let you know, hey, here's the reason why, this lead is actually good. And you might go, oh, well, great. I didn't look at it that way. All right. So we do provide you the feedback. And but it all starts with reporting issues. So if you're watching this, report the issues inside of Cheddarsoft. Our team will do it, and you're making the list better for future delivery dates. One thing, while you're opening these, one thing that's so important to us is that we share good sources with you guys. That we acknowledge when there is a mismatch that we've shared, and we mark it so that way it doesn't get shared again in the future. Are we perfect at it? No. But do we take effort to do it every single day? Yes. And I can say with confidence that we are one of the only leadless suppliers who take it as serious as it needs to be taken care of.
By a long shot, brother.
Yes.
By a long shot. Which
we might talk about that like maybe later, because we've been doing a little check-in around and to see how we shape up next to some of the other leadless providers out there, and we were pretty happy to see how we compare.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we've spent almost $100,000. We've spent $93,000 in the last 30 days, and all I can say is thank you, OA Cheddar. We could not do that without being personally subscribed to all lists. Now, in all transparency, we don't pay for the list, right? We produce them. We pay tens of thousands of dollars to produce them every month, right? And we reap the benefits of that and share that with our subscribers. But we have all the data, and it's super, super awesome to have. And it's all built into OA Cheddar. we run an entire ordering business. Everything from the lead to placing orders and recording that order, it all happens inside of Cheddarsoft. If you guys haven't, like, you're watching this video and you haven't tried it out, like, go in, get into smart data, add a product to buy list, create a dummy order or whatever, make an order, run it through the buy cost calculator. That's going to save you time on every single order, just calculating the cost of each goods. And then you can reconcile all of your receiving of stuff in there. If you're using a prep center, you can export all the orders and pump it into your into the whatever spreadsheet system your prep center is using and stuff like that. Hopefully some prep centers will eventually turn around and start using Cheddarsoft, or at least providing services to users of Cheddarsoft and doing all of the reconciling right there in the system, because it is quite more efficient in a lot of ways. So Snapware, moving on, buy cost $11.99. Okay, it's a good profit, right? 118%, liking that. So $11.99. Let's go check it out. Now, I've noticed that with RevSeller, which I'm still using, I know everybody's using AZ Insight, but I'm still using this one. I have AZ Insight. It's just turned off currently. This button means nothing, right? Sometimes it's red now, sometimes it's green, and it really does not matter. At this point now, we check it every single time. But I'm also not logged into my Amazon store, and I'm not going to log into my Amazon store because then you'll know my store name. So plastic, right? Not glass. That's good. Cookie sheet. All right. So is this for like stacking? This is interesting. I guess your cookie has to fit perfectly within that little circle or something.
It's a cupcake. It's a cupcake holder from the source. And I think this is just an Amazon title that is trying to capture as many people as it can.
Okay.
Because it definitely is just a cupcake holder.
Yeah, it's a cupcake holder. Cool. All right. I like that. Profitability is good. Rank is decent. Okay. Decent only. Only 2 sellers. So now I want to know, first thing I want to know is, who? Is it the brand? Come on, Keepo. Don't fail me now. All right, here we go. So Helton Tool and Home, that is a wholesaler, at least a wholesaler. And they're getting 100% of the buy box. So that's not encouraging. Granted, there's not a lot of history of there being other competitors on there, but that could be for good reason. It doesn't look super private label to me.
No, this is a mainstream brand.
And maybe they just never had it on. Let's go back here. Oh, here we go. Okay, that gives me a little bit more assurance that there's been action on it before. Amazon's been on it before, so there's risk in that, of course, but at least I can see that there's a history of a lot of sellers. And what I'm kind of looking for is this kind of stuff right here. This big drop, but that looks natural to me, right? If this was going from like 13 sellers down to 8 like that, and there was no stair step, that would be concerning, but I don't see that happening in that occasion. It looks like a natural stair step process. Let's just grab like this. I like to kind of just, when I'm looking at Keepa, it's just like, it's like having a baseball in your hand. You're just kind of rolling it around and looking at all of, massaging it. There's a lot of ways to look at Keepa and zoom up on certain sections and just kind of look at what's happened before. Here in August, right, which is about where we're entering. Now, granted, this is back in 21. You can just see that $31 and it moved pretty quick. Now, if we had to sell it for $31, I don't think that would make sense anyway. So we definitely have to be able to work within this last year of history, and not even the whole year. Probably, let's see, what's our break-even point now? Our break-even point for OA Cheddar, and this is one of the things I'll point out. So we are talking about Cheddar leads and how we do things. This would not, if this was the history, if this is what the last like 60 days looked like, we actually would not deliver it. Maybe it'd be unlikely. It'd have to look at least like that. There's 2 versions of leads that we'll approve. Anything that is above a 30% ROI and a $5 net, that both of those markers are above that, we will deliver the lead. Or a $4 net profit and a 40% ROI will deliver that. 440 has been our traditional, and we recently added the 530 because we realized we were leaving a lot of good leads off the table. And our lead gen team was finding those leads and not getting credit for them because of our standard. And so we now have multiple standards that we go by. The other thing I want to point out too, and let's just go. So basically $39 is not the break-even point, but that's the break-even point for OA Cheddar. OA Cheddar would not deliver this lead unless it was at least around that $39 price point and above for the last 60 days. So we're obviously there. Now you can see the buy box up here at $50 and then FBM at 49. So it's clearly there. If let's just pretend, right, real quick, that this is like let's pretend like this is a 30-day graph, okay? Just because for illustration purposes, we kind of want to educate you on how OA Cheddar thinks about things. $44.99, again, it would still meet our standard, right? $39. But let me just do one other thing here. Just grab like that. Okay, $38.99. Dang, it's still there. So we would still deliver that. We would deliver this. But if this price was like $35 leading all the way up to about here, and then it met our minimum standard, we probably wouldn't deliver it. So there's a lot of good leads that OA Cheddar doesn't deliver because it doesn't meet. One of our standards is that the lead has to be within our profitability range, within our minimum ROI and net profit standard for at least 60 of the last 90 days. So if it's only been 40 of the last 90 days that it's at that standard, then we won't deliver it. And so we miss out on a lot of times on delivering leads like that. It's why I've been kind of, if you guys are watching this video, come join our Facebook group, go to oacheddar.com, opt into our email list so you get invited to these calls. But also, like, I'm engaging the group and trying to get more feedback from our sellers to see if there's certain types of leads that we're not delivering that y'all want. So far, it sounds like, we're doing a pretty good job, and all of the standards and regulations that we've created for our team and for our system and for what we deliver has all been essentially designed by sellers, right? We've been doing this since 2018. And as sellers brought in feedback, we would noodle it, right? Okay, let's think that through. Is that a good point they're making? And if it was, we would adjust our entire system to rule out certain leads and just to refine down to like really, really good stuff. And that is maybe sometimes why a lot of the leads that we deliver are good for maybe sellers that are not heavily restricted, because there's oftentimes less competition on leads we deliver just because we have a higher standard we're trying to meet. And that forces us into a lot of beauty and maybe more gated, products, beauty, health, and clothing and big brands and stuff like that. So I would say I like this lead. I'm a little leery. It does appear to me that maybe there's a wholesaler on this, but I do like to see that the price is steadily going up and getting higher and higher. That kind of indicates to me that it's not someone buying directly from the brand, or that is the brand, because why would they keep raising the price? They would probably just have a flat line price and just keep holding that price because maybe they have an agreement with the brand, and the brand's like, hey, we don't want you selling our item for $50. It's a $19 item, Snapwear. It's one of these big Corel brands, Pyrex, all of them, all kind of owned by the same company. It was $27, so it's good to see that it's on sale. It's less than normal. And it wasn't, it's $11.99. So we got a coupon code. So this is always good. If you want to differentiate yourself from other sellers, it's one thing to, you buy something at full price. You're taking a risk because you're not buying it for less than what it's actually worth in the real market. If you buy it that, on a blanket sale, like, some of these big brands, clothing brands and stuff in the last couple of days have had a blanket sale on their website. Well, everybody has access to that sale, right? Well, in this case, it's like a trifecta, right? It's like we have, or it's a, whatever you call it, a trifecta or something else, but the item is on sale and we have a coupon code. So we're stacking discounts and we can put cash back on the back end of that, right? To try to continue to just whittle down on the price. And usually coupon codes expire. And so there's this little window where you can come in and get it for as cheap as possible. And then generally most sellers, if they run into this item, that coupon won't be available, leading up to
a lot of folks
and beyond. Go ahead.
A lot of folks talk about replens, and there's two different ways you can look at replens. There's the replens that you can buy it for the same price and all the time, right? And it's selling and great, and do that. There's also replenning when you're hitting sales. And I would argue that the replen model when you're hitting sales is more protected, because if you're going to go out and invest, and get a large quantity of something that is, just, the MSRP price is $10 and it's selling on Amazon for 25, $30, and you go and invest 20, 30, 40 units into that for every month. Well, it doesn't take long for one lead list to find that lead, right? And expose it to some sellers, or enough sellers to find that same lead. And then there's the competition's too great. And now you're not making any profit, but you have a bunch of units invested. When you're hitting sales, you're hitting windows of opportunity when they come around. And as long as you're keeping your ear to the ground for when these sales happen, and when, Snapware is having their sale with their mix and match, right? When you see that come across your email, as a promotion, or through SalesGazer or whatever tool that you use to look at sales, oh, here's my opportunity to stock up, right? And then what happens is these sales run on a cycle, right? Like there's sources that I know, like, okay, this is their quarterly 20% off sale that they do every quarter. And I know that on Black Friday or around Christmas time, they're going to do a 25% sale. So I know it's like, okay, well, here's my opportunity to stock up. And also maybe we're going to hold on to this inventory for a little while. We're not going to be in a rush to sell it because there's going to be a wave. And depending on how quick an item sells, of course, but there'll be a wave, there'll be a recovery, and we want to hit it right at the recovery mark where it's selling at the highest price before the next sale happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this lead too, Grant. I wouldn't go, super crazy deep on it. I would test buy it just to see what that whole seller might do to you. But the fact that there's other sellers that have come historically on it and were successful gives me more confidence. Let's take a look at the RS Hughes lead because we're getting close. We're almost to an hour as it is. And then we'll stay on a little bit longer than we expected because we do have some questions, and guys, ask us your questions now and we will get to them at the end.
One of the things, I don't know if Windows does this, but the thing I love about the Mac is just the ability to double tap and zoom up on something and get a really good look at it. Appears to be a match to me. Silicone, lubricating grease. Usually I don't vet matches first because our team does a pretty good job of that. So 1927.
I like to throw you curveballs in these calls.
This is a curveball?
Well, no, I like to throw you curveball. I like to throw stuff out. We don't talk about these leads ahead of time. I put them out there, and you have to determine what are the good ones, what are the bad ones, because they're all top shelf inside of Cheddarsoft.
Yeah. Okay, so 1927. And is that on sale? Nope. I mean,
it's the 12 quantity.
12 quantity. Well, I guess it's 1927 even with the 1 row, right? But I could buy the 12 pack.
Yeah, I guess
that probably gets me free shipping. Yeah, free shipping is over $249, so I would definitely have to buy the 12 pack and maybe some more. So that's the first thing I'm thinking. I got to buy more than 12. Let's call it 15 or something. So that'd be the first thing. Do I want to buy 15 of these? Because that's the commitment, right?
There's also a barrier of entry that every other seller has to come in at.
Yeah. How many sellers? That's a good point. How many sellers are going to say, I'm not comfortable spending $250 on one item? That's a really good point. I wonder if this is a model number and if it's anywhere on the Amazon listing real quick. 92150. 92150. So that's comforting.
There's also a UPC on the source site on the bottom by the buy box area.
Yeah. The way I do that usually is if there's one on Amazon, I copy it off a Rev Seller and Command FB and search it. Now, if you're doing Walgreens, I'm pretty sure you have to take that first digit out, right, Taylor?
If you're doing Walgreens, it's the last digit that you'll have to kick out. I'd also recommend sourcing, or searching the UPC code on Amazon, because what you see with Rev Seller or AZ Insight, that's 1 or 2, but there could be UPC codes connected on the back end that you don't see displayed on the Amazon listing itself.
I think this is the one we're looking at, 269 reviews. So there's that one. No buy box. And then here's the 12 pack, which is not much less than or more than what we can buy it for. Out of curiosity, just for that purpose at all, let's just see if it even sells as a 12 pack. very often. It does a little bit. I mean, I assume it does. I could dig in deeper, but I'm not going to. All right. So back to what we were doing. So that's the other thing too, is there's not like, sometimes what will happen is you'll find a match and then you'll take the UPC code off of the source. You'll search it on Amazon, or maybe the match is questionable and you search the UPC code from the source site on Amazon and you come to find out, hey, there's a listing that's an exact match. And then you got to decide, am I willing to play this gray hat game where I'm going to list this item that's a perfect match to a non-profitable listing, to a listing that is profitable, that's not it's a match, but it's not perfect. That's a little gray hat OA arbitrage, but okay. 3 months. I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing, but what's my break even point? Like for me personally, I got to think about prep center cost and kind of what my bare minimum is. I know that my repricer right now is set for at least a 10% minimum margin. That's kind of where I'm running at currently. So $32 is where my repricer is going to ride. So, oops, I went to the wrong page. And this is like well into a good range. I'm not seeing that it's a multi-pack or anything. I'm just surprised it sells for so much money.
Another way that people check for multi-packs is taking the ASIN and searching it in the Amazon search box. The reason for this is you're getting a direct link to the Amazon listing, and sometimes Amazon will give you clues where on the search results page, they'll have pack of 2, pack of 3 listed on there, but on the actual listing, you don't see that. Now, granted, you have to determine, okay, what, if it says it's a 2-pack on the search results, but when you actually are in the listing, there's no evidence that it is a 2-pack, play within your own rules, or your own comfort level.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on buying something that in the search results says like multi-pack, and then because I think there's, you still run into issues. People are like, oh, it's a 2-pack. And then they go to the Amazon listing and they're already in their head going, it's a 2-pack. Or they've bought it in the past before when it was clearly listed as a 2-pack. And now some seller went in there and finagled with it and took that out of the listing details, like on the page, but it's still like in that background where it's like showing up on, search results and stuff. And so I would not advise to sell something that comes up as a search result as like a multi-pack, and not actually deliver it as such, even if the listing doesn't clearly display it.
So
Grant, I like this listing. I don't see why I wouldn't do it other than the fact that it's grease, and I don't know how tight that lid is on the top, but
now it's interesting. In the chat, we have some good comments. Haley says the weight on the item shows 4 pounds and more when the listing is 14 ounces. So you'll see down there in the bullet points, item package weight is 4.52 pounds. And then Stacy, thank you, Stacy. She said, have you checked the reviews to see if customers are receiving 2-packs or are frustrated because they're only receiving 1 when they expected 2?
Let's look at most recent. It's a good call. So 5-star, 5-star, no attention to details, 2 of the 3 containers. Interesting. So they must have bought 3 of them. So there's a lid that popped off. Yeah, grease everywhere. I don't speak that language. So we're still looking at, nope, I want to go to most recent. Yeah, that's a really good point, and that is one area to check. Next page. I'm not seeing any really half of the area. Half was grease. It's not good. First two. Yeah, so people are complaining about the tubes not being full. That it's mostly air. Yeah, I don't see anything about that. I wish.
Now, another section, of course, is the Q&A section on the Amazon listing, where you may have folks who are asking, is this a single pack? And they're getting answers back like, no, it's a 2, it's a 3-pack, or I bought this last year and it was a 2-pack and now is it really only a 1-pack? That kind of stuff.
Sorry, I don't really usually check that kind of stuff.
So it's right above the ratings inside the main Amazon listing.
Let's go to that. Why can't I get back there? There we go.
Scroll up.
Oh, wait.
Scroll up. Doesn't look like they have a Q&A section. Keep scrolling up, Grant. Yeah, I don't see a Q&A section on here. So the thing that we have to determine is that bullet point that says it's a 4.52 pound, liquid weight, right? Now, trying to do quick math in my head, but if it's 14 ounces and 16 ounces is a pound, what would that take?
You said it's 14. The product is 14 ounces. Yeah, 14 ounces. So 4.52 times 16, that'd be 72. Divide that by 14. Oops.
It's actually the liquid volume is the 14.1 fluid ounces.
Well, then let's, I guess this 1.8 right here, that's pretty much there's like almost 4 of those. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought is like, was this a 4-pack at one time? I mean, I guess that's the risk a seller has to decide if they're willing to take.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it, I always look at it as what is the end consumer going to expect and what are we going to provide them? Right. And if I'm looking at this listing and I'm just searching for grease and I don't have any knowledge, my knowledge of Amazon is just, that's where I go and buy stuff. I would see the image of one. I would see that nothing in the title says multi-pack or anything like that. And I would expect that if I order it, I'm going to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're seeing some of the drops.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing I was kind of looking at is like, okay, so we're worried about this issue of how many units it's supposed to be. I would maybe argue that this was a 1-pack, at least when Amazon was selling, right? There's a clue, right? Because I don't see them selling this for less than, $15 a bottle. But then on top of that, I noticed these little drops here. There's actually 3 pretty big ones. That one looks natural. I mean, if I zoomed up on it, actually here, let me do this. So that one, has a little bit of a stair step action, but this one's a tank, right? Like it goes from 27 to 16. That to me, I mean, it could be a lot of things, but I would bet that's some degree of the brand coming in and filing claims, and then possibly here too.
Either that, or it was a multi-pack. Amazon is removing sellers who have the singles, or vice versa, possibly too. Right?
Yeah. Even then, though, I don't know if it would happen in one felt swoop. I mean, I feel like I don't think Amazon's that organized.
True.
FBA in particular is that organized.
They'd have to do an investigation on each person, each seller's inventory, and then determine whether or not they are, they match up with the listing, or if they need to be, restricted and sent back to the seller or removed for the seller to figure out.
Yeah, I think this one's curious because it drops and then a few days later it goes back up, and it's almost like that steady trend of like sellers coming in, right? But this one's more concerning, where it's just like it drops and then it doesn't come back. So I think that's another risk that a seller would have to consider. Am I willing to play this game and assume that I'm going to be safe with all of that? Oh, look at these, Taylor. There's more of them.
Yep.
As I get closer, there's more, but again, they also kind of bounce back up. It drops down, and we see graphs like this where the offer count is kind of weird. It does weird things. I see this a lot on Amazon flips where it's just like, it's like, that's not natural. Something's weird. Like Keep is recording something weird, but that seems to come back, right? It's like and then here it drops, but then they come back. A lot of times when it's a brand filing claims, it just drops and it does not come back. And if it does, it comes back slowly at a later date when sellers are coming in and finally getting their stuff shipped into Amazon and stuff. So there's a few odd things about this. I think if I had to guess, I would bet you could buy this, sell it, 1-pack, probably not have any issues. But there are potential risks that you would have to be willing to take.
This is why you should test buy. All right.
Yep.
My question I would be asking myself is, if I buy 12 of these, or if I have to buy 14 to get the free shipping, am I going to be able to recoup my money? Right? Am I going to be able to sell those? What's the risk of me not being able to sell those 12? And then also, if I do sell those 12 and it was successful and everything went through and and the customers were happy, well, what if I went and did it again and just slowly kept a supply of 10 to 12 constantly in the store to drip out? So your investment isn't, I'm not going to go out and buy 150 of these and send them in, but every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, depending on how the sales velocity is tracking, I'm going to go in, I'm going to place another reorder. So my risk is always the same. It's always somewhat low, right? If Amazon comes in and says, hey, you can't sell this, or this is actually a 2-pack, we changed the listing on it, right? But in that in-between time, you're still making those sales. And a lot of sellers would avoid this listing because of everything that we kind of pointed out. And so no one loves playing in the gray, but if you're going to do OA, you're going to have to get in the gray. You're going to have to.
Yeah, that's what OA is.
Yeah, you're going to have to. And everybody who does it, Chris Grant talks about this quite a bit, where it's like test buy, do your test buys. Don't dive in super deep into anything. And I think this is a type of listing where it's like, yeah, I'd buy 12. I'd buy the 12-pack or buy 14 of them, send them in and see how it all plays out. Because if it is successful and it does play out, you could be looking at something that you could restock, over and over again. I can't remember if it's on sale right now. I don't think it is. I think it's just the normal price. The source is legit. I already did the vet on the source. The source has a storefront. You can find them on Google Maps. They have reviews. Everything looked good on the source side. Now, I'm curious. Take a look at the first scene and last scene.
Yeah, I will. I want to show you that. That's a good stair step of supply. Apparently has a ton, but also doing merchant fulfilling. So I kind of sometimes wonder. I have this theory that it is possible that I don't know, it would be so risky. But I sometimes wonder if merchant fulfilled sellers put super high stock numbers in their stores to get the buy box.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, though, they're consistently dropping. So it's like the supply came in. How long ago can we see that? See, they came in, it dropped, they stocked up, but then it held, which is odd. So initially right around in May of, I think, 21, 22, maybe. It's hard to see. That graph is so small. But yeah, good stair step action. This one's kind of not really exciting to look at. Oops, sorry. Let's go look at buy box statistics, see what the rotation is in the last 90 days. This one's gotten most of it at $47. Warrior Supplies. Man, $50 for a tube of grease. All pretty, mediocre sellers, actually. Look at that. The ratings are all at 80%. That's interesting, isn't it? A little bit. Not that I can speculate on what that means, but pretty poor ratings for those sellers. Oh, I should zoom. Dang it.
All merchant fulfill sellers too, except for the bottom one.
Oh yeah. See, I'm so glad you pointed that out, because I have been like, lately I've been like, oh darn, that this section of the graph doesn't tell me who's FBA or not, because I'm looking over here like the offer count, the offer shows, but it's right there now. I know. Learn something, yay. Yeah, that's interesting. It's all merchant fulfill. I wonder if that's because it's this grease and they're worried about like Amazon just destroying it and making a mess.
Yeah. For if it was me and I wanted to sell this product, I'd probably go with the merchant fulfill route, because I could secure the top of the bottles. Right. If you see the feedback where people had bottles that popped open, well, throwing a piece of tape over that bottle to make sure it's secure. So if it does get, tossed around a little bit, that there's something holding it back together, or holding it together other than just the pressurization of the cap to the normally cardboard tube. Would be something I'd be looking at.
What do you think? A 1 pound, 10 by 2.5 inches, Is that probably somewhere between $8 and $10, $8 and $11 maybe?
Yeah, about that. You could also do flat rate shipping, I think, on this. I think there'd be a box that you could probably put that in, depending on the size of it. So you might be able to, knock out flat rate shipping prices instead of based off of weight. Yeah.
I would almost try that too. I mean, that's the other thing about like if with merchant fulfill, you have a little more control too. And this, I kind of wonder if there's maybe a level of hazmat with this, or there was, because it's only recent where you see like the FBA triangles. Like this whole last year, you don't really see any FBA.
Right.
And then maybe like it was like the hazmat came off of it or something. Anyway, lots to consider there. Yep. Should we look at one more, or what do you think?
We got some questions coming in, so I'd say let's stop sharing our screen. We'll knock out some of these questions. We're already 15 minutes past what we intended to be. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Yes, Haley, this will be saved and posted onto YouTube, so you will be able to go back and watch the recording of this call. Okay. Joseph says, I have been selling on Amazon for a year and a half, and at the beginning, the leads I found were great, but now I'm having very low sales. My question is, what is the main info that I should look at before going ahead with a product? And then also, what is your Facebook group? If you search OA Cheddar inside of Facebook, you can find it. I'll actually just put the link to the Facebook group in the chat for you.
Yeah, I think you can go to our website as well, and you might find a link, hopefully.
Yeah.
We don't have our link on our website. That would be a big mess.
But what should you look at before going ahead on the product? I think Keepa is going to probably be the number one thing that you need to be looking at. Okay. You need to be, one, look at the profitability, but also look at the profitability today, and then look at the history on Keepa. And does that profitability stay strong? Right. We have a 60-day rule. So Grant was talking about this before, where we don't share leads that out of the last 90 days, 60 of those days need to be in the top shelf profitable range for us. And the reason for this is because you'll often see, price spikes that happen on a product. Offers could be low, price spikes. Well, what happens as soon as offers start to come back in, the price goes back down to what it normally sells for. So you should be looking at like, okay, the last 90, how consistent is the price? And then after the last 90, to go look at the year. Is the price consistent for the year? That will help kind of clue you in on, okay, how deep do I go on this? Is this going to be a 5-unit type order, or am I going to go like 10, 20 units deep on it? And if you see price consistency throughout the year, even with offers coming and going, that should give you a lot of security or confidence, knowing that, hey, I might be able to, I can go in on this, and even if competition rises, I might not get burnt. And then also, if competition rises and price drops down, how quickly does it take for the competition to go away and the price to come back up? If you're looking at a fast selling item, the recovery time is usually a lot quicker than something that's slower selling. And so that can also give you a clue, like, okay, I'm going to go buy this. And you know what? There might be a race to the bottom that happens. And if that does happen, based off of the history, I see that it recovers, at a certain rate. And then you can determine, okay, do I hold on to this for the next, 2 to 3 weeks? Or am I going to just do I need to sell mine out, liquidate it, and move on to the next item? So Keepa is your best friend. Understanding Keepa will help you understand what you're purchasing and what type of risk that you might be taking.
I want to throw it in there. First of all, the Facebook group, if you're watching online and you can't find it, just go to oacheddar.com, scroll to the footer. There's a link called Facebook group that'll take you directly there, and you can request to join. There's a lot packed into your question, Joseph. Taylor gave you really good feedback on just how to analyze, like on analyzing leads. But there's so many factors, right? That it would take almost coaching to be able to really dissect the concerns you have one-on-one time. And I would be open to coaching you, possibly you give me screenshots and some material, and I could coach you live, right, for free. I would maybe do something like that. I haven't opened up coaching to really but I can almost always dissect an Amazon store with like Inventory Lab and Seller Central and tell you what's not working. I do it with my store. I've been doing it with my store for 10 years. What's not working? What is? So there's a lot packed into your question. Hopefully you're paying attention to your account health. If your account health is going down and you're or you have a bad score, that can affect your profitability. The other thing I'll tell you is anytime someone is investing into their Amazon store, like right now, like my store is going to perform the best that it ever will as I'm putting new capital into it. But as soon as I stop investing into my Amazon store and I start to flatline, your store will stop performing as well as it did when you're investing. Because as you're the fastest, the best selling stuff in your store is going to sell in the first 30 days, right? And then everything else that doesn't sell in those first 30 days, there's going to be price tanking. There's going to be waiting it out and having to wait for the profitability to come back, or maybe it tanks and never does come back, whatever. And you have to start liquidating. So all of the stuff that doesn't sell within that first little bit as you're pushing inventory into the store is like the least profitable stuff in your store, right? And unless you're again, like playing the game of like, I'm going to buy this and I don't care if it sells in the next 4 months because I'm holding it for Q4 anyway. And that's when I plan to make my nut on that inventory. So what I'm saying though is if one of the things that you did was I went from investing into my store and putting new money into my store to then flatlining it and waiting for the sales to come back out, then yes, your store is not going to perform as well. It's not going to perform as well as when it was when you're making that initial capital investment. And this is where it gets tricky, and you have to really learn how to, if you are going to flatline and go, okay, I'm happy with this sales figure. Well, one, your sales are going to go down if you stop investing, and you kind of have to keep investing past where you want to be, and then say, okay, let's say you want to sell $50,000 a month consistently. You're probably going to need to reach 70. Like if you're moving and investing into that, you're going to have to hit $70,000 in sales, and then just start cycling that cash and maybe pulling out some of the profit. And then you're going to drop down to 50 and you'll just kind of coast at 50. And if you're not turning and burning in your inventory, then you're not going to have capital to buy new stuff, which means that your profits are going to go down because some of the stuff you just need to sell at break even or close to break even so you can get the capital back and invest it into new stuff that you can send into Amazon and sell quickly in that first 30-day window. So yes. I know that's loaded, right? It takes time to really work that out in your brain and how that kind of cash flow and inventory flow works. But there's a lot of nuances, and that's why like it matters who you listen to on the internet, because there's a lot of hype and people that are building stores for the first time. And they're like, yeah, I'm making 15, 20% profit margins. And I'm like, see you in 6 months.
Right.
It's not going to be like that unless you keep investing. Like you had $50,000 invest in your store. Congratulations. You got great profit margins. That's going to be fun for a while. And then pretty soon reality is going to kick in. You're going to go, oh crap. Now I got to sell stuff at close to break even, or all the stuff that hasn't sold is the slow moving inventory that I got to wait to sell in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months, or I made some bad buys, whatever. And you got to navigate all of that. So anyway, super loaded question. It's a good question. Keep asking questions, Joseph. Keep showing up on these calls and you will learn a lot about how to source good product and get and be able to ask complex questions like that, and hopefully get equally complex answers, because that's what it deserves.
Yep. I'll also add in there too, don't get too invested into your inventory. Like Grant was saying, sometimes you gotta sell stuff for break even, right?
Or a loss,
and get that money back and reinvest it in. And over time, that repetition, you will start to know, okay, here's the winners, here's the duds, here's the stuff I need to test, right? And this kind of ties into this next question. No offense intended here, but can you give me some words of reassurance that even though there are a limited number of sellers on each list, when I hear the high volume of sales that some sellers, such as yourself, how can I feel comfortable that how can I feel comfortable that I may not be able to compete on so many of these leads? So I think the question here is, okay, hey, I'm coming into this, and I don't have maybe a ton of experience. How can I be confident that I'm going to be able to compete against sellers like yourselves? And the answer to that question is, one, not everybody on a lead list buys everything. Okay. The good stuff, the fast stuff, the easy to recognize stuff, people, yes, there's going to be competition that comes in on them. But usually there's a recovery that happens. It's why we don't reshare a lead after 60 days of it landing on our list. Okay. And if we reshare it as a top shelf, it has to have a new promotion, a new source, something new about the listing, a cheaper buy cost. So one, know that, right? Not everyone jumps on every single listing. Not everyone is able to buy everything because it goes out of stock. So those factors play a role into it. But how can you be confident? You got to build that confidence, right? You're going to have to take chances, and you're going to have to learn from those chances that you took that didn't pan out very well, and then learn from the wins and build up that confidence. And Leah Modlin, shout out Leah, she's awesome. Okay. She said something in a talk that she did not that long ago, where it was basically, I'm not going to be able to quote it, but the level of confidence that you have will grow as your knowledge grows. Okay. Now, when Grant and I started selling on Amazon, there were bigger sellers than us. There were plenty of times that we took losses, right? And we learned from those mistakes. We got rid of the inventory, we sold it for a small loss, and we reinvested it into something else. And we started identifying winners and losers, and then building up our confidence that goes along with that. Your wins will carry your losses. Thank you, Stacy. As your confidence grows, your wins will carry your losses. Okay. We make mistakes all the time. There's lots of times where we go, crap, why did we buy that? Right. I still am haunted by a retail arbitrage purchase I made of these Adidas shorts, where I went like 20 deep on every single size. And then I watched after a year of them not selling, and then like a year and a half of them not selling. And finally I was like, just get rid of them. I think we ended up having to pull the inventory back because the listing got not stranded, but the parent orphaned. Yes. The parent ASIN was deleted. So all the sizes became their own listings, and went from like a 20, 30,000 rank clothing item to like a million rank, right? It was never going to be, no one's organically going to be finding these shorts. And, we invested, back then it was like, okay, this is a lot of money that we've invested in these shorts. They were like $15 a pair, and we had 20 of each pair. So you can do the math. But we learned that like, hey, this is going to happen, right? When we would have been better off in that scenario, pulling the inventory back as soon as it got orphaned, than to sit there and hope that just lowering our price was going to get these items sold. And that's just comes with experience. So you got to get the reps in. Okay. You got to take the chances. You got to buy stuff, do your test buys. Okay. Go wide and shallow with it. Okay. Don't invest heavily. And then once you start to build up your confidence, start to dig in a little bit deeper. And that's what, for us, like in our store, like we're going deeper than we've historically have in the past, because we need to grow, right? When we find a good opportunity, we're not buying the 5 units of it. We're going deeper. We're getting 10, we're getting more than 10. We're replenishing it. I'm going back through my orders that we did 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm re-looking at these leads and going, do I want to buy more of this now if I can? Even if there is like a list hit and the selling price has gone down, is it starting to recover? Well, yeah. So I want to go and I want to dig in a little bit more and buy some more of this. And it's cool because if you're looking on OA Cheddar lead that was shared, that within a 60-day window, we're not putting that back on a list. So if it's 30 days old and it's looking promising or looking like it's rebounding, well, you have the confidence in knowing that that's not going to end up at least on an OA Cheddar list for another 30 days.
And if we deliver a lead again, it goes back to the exact same group of subscribers. We don't cross over and deliver the same lead to multiple groups, because that would be completely pointless. What's the point of lead list, limitations on sellers if you're just going to share the lead on one list of sellers to the other list of sellers? So we work really hard on that.
Yeah, that's a rule that we do not break. Again, we're humans. We have a team of humans. Sometimes, mistakes happen, but it's very few and far between. And then when it does happen, we handle it the best way that we can.
Yeah, Teresa, I would just encourage you to keep going. If one of your concerns is that you have less reviews than other sellers, that's legitimate. But I think just, again, Taylor made a really good point. It's about the reps, and then pay attention to what does sell, and maybe ask yourself, why did this sell? Why did I get to sell this, now instead of, another seller? And if you have items that just aren't selling, ask yourself why. right? If it's not price, or because you're not willing to sell it for the current selling price, and you're priced competitively, well, then yeah, maybe go look at the buy box statistics and go, well, are there other sellers on here with thousands of reviews, and I don't have thousands of reviews, and is that why? And maybe you just have to undercut them. I'm not saying that I want to train OA Cheddar subscribers to undercut the price on listings, but at the end of the day, if you need to move inventory, you got to do what you got to do. I do liquidate, right? And there's probably sellers that are going, screw that guy, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's the game, right? You love it or hate it, doesn't matter. This has been sitting in my store for too long. How do I feel comfortable that I may be able to compete with so many of these leads? The other thing is like, compete. I'm not that I would like to know more about what you mean by that. You have just as much right to buy the inventory as I do. First come, first serve. So if it's about competing to get the product, it happens all the time where we're too late to the game or to the party, and we don't get to buy it because it's sold out, or the sale was closed, maybe even just on that listing because too many people bought it, and the seller, the merchant, isn't willing to continue to sell it at a discount any longer, stuff like that. So first come, first serve. Get on the leads as quickly as possible. And then just get good at, this is what I'm really spending a lot of my time and effort on, and I'll be talking about with Cheddar Black customers this season, is just really, really scrubbing your leads. I mean, I spent hours yesterday on one source, just digging in page after page after page of results. I literally went in, I said, okay, show me all of the leads in Cheddarsoft that we've delivered all time. Sort it by ASIN so that I can skip, lead cards that are the same item. Right. So once I've reviewed one, I can just skip the other two that it might have been delivered on other occasions, and go to the next one. And it's like, every hour I'm putting together a, $300 to $600 order, at least every hour I'm putting together a big order like that. And that happens with time as you build up your store and you get approved to sell more things, and that kind of stuff. It just gets easier and more fun in time. But also, appreciate where you're at. Like when you're small, you can be more careful. You can command a like sellers that are doing, $20,000-$30,000 in sales can often realize much higher profit margins because you're being so much more selective about what you're buying. And you're able to a little bit, you have less inventory to manage, so you can really hyper analyze a little bit more into like the details of the inventory you have. And so you can be more strategic. Whereas as you get into scale, you have to basically accept, kind of a steady, lower margin, and, the strokes that you're taking against your store and on your inventory are very broad, and they're strategic, but they're, I got to be able to make decisions on 100 listings in the same amount of time that you can make decisions on 5 listings. Therefore, I'm just blanket stroking. I'm going to make an adjustment in my repricer that's going to affect hundreds of listings. I'm going to watch it, see if I like what happened. And that means, and here's the beautiful thing I will say, as you get to that level, I don't care if something sold at like close to break even, or I made $1 of profit on something when 2 weeks later I could have made 5. I do to a degree. It's like, oh, bummer if I see it, but for the most part, I'm not looking at it. I can't go in there and look at 900 listings on a regular basis. Or 100 units sold a day and go, oh, did I make enough profit on this item? Oh no, I only made $1, and if I would have waited just another couple of days, I could have made $3. Who cares, right? Like, so your priorities will change over time. There's another question right here. When is best to revisit lead list from a lead list that is giving daily? We buy off the leads live every single day. We spend, $3 minimum to $5,000-$6,000 buying right off of the leads that we deliver every single day, the day that they are delivered. So I don't care what everybody tells you that lead list this and that, and it's better to spend all your time and effort, sourcing leads manually. I can assure you that anybody that's at scale is not making more profit than a seller that's just buying off a lead list and saving time. Because we know these sellers, right? And we're like, they'll tell us what their profitability is. And it's like, okay, well, you're working a lot harder to make the same amount of money as me,
right?
So more power to you if that's what floats your boat. You like to be the one that actually gets to, does the Easter egg hunt. That's cool. Do it. but also just buy the leads that day. Yes, there's going to be winners and losers. There's going to be tankers, and there's going to be ones that hockey puck and or hockey stick, and you're going to get to go sell them for even more than what you thought you're going to sell them for. Be quick, right? If you don't have a prep center, receive your goods, ship them out. Receive your goods, ship them out. Don't sit on them for a week or 2 weeks. It'll literally cost you money to sit on inventory that you've ordered online arbitrage. Whether you sourced it, 60 days after it was delivered to a lead list or the day, it doesn't matter. Speed is king in that regard. So move the inventory out of your hands and into FBA as quickly as possible. Consider merchant fulfilling, by the way, Teresa. That's another thing. You can compete as a merchant fulfill seller. You could actually put 0 day. Here's a big tip right here. Okay, this is gold, right? If you're willing to do it, put literally 0 day fulfillment or whatever it is. I think it's like literally 0 day fulfillment. You will get the buy box because you're going to process that order. You've told Amazon, I'm going to process my order and get it shipped to my customer, to your customer, because it's Amazon's customer, the day that they order it. If you do that, same day fulfillment, dude, you're going to get, it gives you a competitive advantage, right? Over every other seller, even FBA, right? So, and then the other thing about FBM is Amazon might prioritize you based on location, right? So just because FBA sellers on Keepa are getting the buy box doesn't mean that someone within, 500, 300, 200 miles of you, kind of had to work my way down there, someone within 200 miles of you isn't going to see you in the buy box because you're going to get it to them in 2 days faster than Amazon can, right? Especially if you're doing same day fulfillment. So consider merchant fulfilling. Again, merchant fulfilling sometimes depends on the lead. Sometimes you're going to make more money, more profit selling at the same price as a merchant fulfill seller as you will as an FBA seller. It's amazing. Now, granted, you got to have the shipping supplies and you got to have the will and time to process orders, but this is a huge hack right now using FBM. In the past, it was FBA. Everything's sort of flipped around. And it's like now there's a huge hack with selling on Amazon using FBM. So consider that as well.
I'd also last little cherry on that one too is try to get creative. Okay. Can you go buy it is it available at the store down the road from you? Okay. Can you place that order and set up pickup, right? To go swing by and pick up those stores at the end of the day and then have the inventory, a week before everyone else on the list is going to be able to get it. If you have the time to do that, go do that. Can you take what you're seeing on the list and go do some retail arbitrage and go out to, Ulta, go out to Target, go out to, some of these big box stores or like Keels, for example, if you have one close to you, and can you stock up on that inventory that other people can't? That will make you more competitive, right? Is there limitations from the source, right? If GameStop, for example, limits you to 5 units for a SKU, and that you're not going to be able to get away with, multiple orders from GameStop, that everyone else that comes in on that listing also probably has about 5 units of inventory as well. And what does that mean? Well, if this item is selling quick enough and there's a limitation from the source of how many people could have purchased, well then hey, this is probably going to be recovering soon. But I think just getting creative, like Grant was saying, doing merchant fulfill, can you get it from the store? But also like if it's ratings, sell stuff. You want to make as many sales as possible if you're trying to boost up your ratings. Okay. So if you find a product that's like, hey, I make $2 per unit on this, but it sells like crazy, the price is super consistent with it. Like, no, you're not going to get rich off of that. But if you're not losing money, all you're going to be getting is more sales, more reps, more chances for customers to leave you feedback to boost your ratings. Okay. Also, if you're newer into this, I'd say you should probably prioritize shipping your own products out while you're able to, because you control the quality of what's going out to the end customer. Prep centers don't always do that. What is your strategy for Q4?
I was going to say, I believe you can also there's a button on your orders where you can request, Amazon to basically email the customer to get feedback. I'm pretty sure. I was going to go and check this, but I think there is a button for that. We don't do this because we don't, but let me see if I can find it. You go ahead, Taylor.
So what is your strategy for Q4? And are you guys doing Cheddar Black this year? Great question. Yes, we are doing Cheddar Black. You should start to see some emails being sent out and some promotion stuff in the early August. Really excited about the package we have this year. We've listened to some feedback. I think we have a very desirable package planned for you guys. And as far as what our strategy for Q4, it's starting now. Like Grant was saying, that we're thinking about Q4 probably earlier than we ever have in the past. And that's why we're starting to stock up our store right now. We're looking at Keepa graphs, not just on the 90-day level, but on the year level. Okay, what did it do last year in Q4? Is this something that I want to purchase with the intention of holding it? Right. And the nice thing about Cheddar Black too is because we recognize that Q4 starts in Q3. So we're going to, with Cheddar Black, September 1st, you start to get your Christmas chunk leads. Okay. It's because we want you guys to be stocking up your store. But I wouldn't also wait for Cheddar Black. I'd be looking at, okay, how do I open myself up to more inventory, more leads now, so that way I can be ready for when Q4 starts to come. Because you might find items that are on sale right now for great deals that do super well in Q4. I promise you're not going to have a sale pop up. We'll just use the Nike sale, for example. Okay. Because everyone, Nike had a huge sale and they still are doing it. You're not going to find Nike products, those same Nike products with a 25% off sale until Black Friday, right? Until, you're actually in the peak season. So take advantage of that kind of stuff now while you're able to and stock up for the Q4 season. Anything you want to add on to that, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Black Friday. I think gear up for shipping, merchant fulfill if you really want to take advantage of the peak of peak season, which is really Black Friday through December 10th. I feel like that is where things just really are hopping. And it can be good. It'll be good all the way through January, but that's the peak of peak in my opinion. And so yeah, have supplies if you want to do merchant fulfilling. That way, like Black Friday offers and stuff like that. If there's a big sale, you can pull that stuff, have it shipped directly to your home, bypass the prep center, receive it during the peak season, get it listed, and then ship it to customers immediately. That'll give you a competitive advantage there because there's going to be a lot of sellers that buy inventory on Black Friday and Cyber Monday and plan to ship it into FBA, and they're just going to have to wait until basically January to sell it. That's how that's going to work.
And if you haven't been doing merchant fulfilling in your store, I would say start doing that now. Start practicing. Find items that you're like, okay, hey, I could get this sent out all day, every day, slap a sticker on it, throw it in an envelope and ship it out every single day. What that's going to do is you're going to start to get order fulfillment. Your ratings will start to be built up, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing Amazon, because Amazon is prioritizing the end customer. If they're looking at a merchant fulfill offer that has, 500 successful orders with on-time delivery and another seller who has 10, they're going to prioritize the one that has the track record of doing it. So find those items that you can, small and light, okay, whatever fits within your limitations as a seller, but find those items and don't be afraid to merchant fulfill them now because you're just setting yourself up for success come Q4.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff you can just ship in poly bags, like clothing items. You just need poly bags or, mailer bags. Yeah. You can get some boxes maybe for like shoe, figure out if you're going to do shoes, for example, like you mentioned, Nike, Taylor, there's going to be some opportunity to merchant fulfill shoes during the peak season. So maybe have some boxes for that. But if you really want to kind of play the risky game, you could stick those in a poly mailer. Amazon ships them in freaking poly mailers all the time. And the box might get destroyed before it gets to the customer, but it also might not. So that's something you can play around with. And like you said, small items.
I'm going to knock out these two questions because there's one question I want to, and I'm going to show it on Cheddarsoft. Haley asked a good question. Do the current list stop when Cheddar Black starts? No. Cheddar Black is a separate package. The lead list will continue to be delivered all throughout the year. It's consistent. Cheddar Black is its own separate package because with the Q4 season, we see an influx of leads because opportunity is out there. And we're taking the best stuff and putting it in our Cheddar Black package, the Q4 relevant stuff. We do not share leads that were once on one list inside of Cheddar Black. Okay. The only exception I think that might be to that is Black Friday because
we're not going to manage. Yeah.
Yeah. And Black Friday is like here's your one opportunity to snag this for super cheap. It doesn't usually happen too often because usually Black Friday items are new items. But Corey, I actually had a great call with Corey this last week. He took advantage of our onboarding call and scheduled a meeting with me. If you guys didn't know that, you can come down here. There's a little chat box inside of Cheddarsoft and reach out to me and we can get a meeting scheduled. We had a good call. But his question is do you guys have any tips on how to be more efficient when creating planned buy lists for VAs? And so I'm here in Cheddarsoft, and when Corey and I spoke, he was really excited. He just got into Cheddarsoft and he wanted to build out some systems and processes for future team members and how to become more efficient in his business without having to do all the work and everywhere. And so it got me thinking after our call too, like, okay, well, how would I do this? So if I had a person I was training on sourcing, right? But I was going to make the final buying decisions and actually place the orders for them. How would I want my buy list to be set up? And if I come here to the buy list inside of Cheddarsoft, you have the ability to make multiple buy lists. Now, you'll see here, I use the example of a Monday through Sunday schedule. This is what we do in our own personal business, because if I find a lead that I like on Monday, but I know I can't get away with placing a bunch of orders on a single given day, I'll drip them out throughout the rest of the week. Okay, so that way I'm being strategic about my buying. But if I had a VA, I'm going to have to probably come in here and delete a couple of these real quick, because we do only allow 7 extra buy lists. I would create a buy list that would say, let's just call it a review. Okay. And then I'd create another buy list and I would call it buy, purchase, whatever you want to do. So we're going to have one buy list here that is meant for reviewing the leads that are being added to it, and another buy list that you're actually going to take action on. The other way you can do this is use your team buy list as the review buy list, and then maybe have a Monday through Friday schedule or Monday through Sunday schedule that you can do. And the process, I would say, is your team member comes into Smart Data. They're coming in here and they're saying, okay, well, this looks like a good buy. Let's add, 5 of those to the buy list, and any notes that might pertain to it. And let's add this to the review buy list. And they come in here and they're doing their thing and they're saying, well, I think we should buy 20 of these. And, all the promotion stuff is there, and they set it to the review buy list as well. Okay. And let's just add one more in there, and they say, hey, maybe we should only buy 4 of these. Right. And they send it to the review listing as well. So your VA is going through and they're sourcing your leads inside of Cheddarsoft, whether it's historical or fresh, and they're putting a quantity to them, and they're saying, this is how much I think we should buy, and these are the items that I think we should buy. Then you can come in behind them and go, well, I like this lead. Everything about this lead looks really good. I don't think we should buy 4. I think we should buy 8. So you would come in here and edit the item in your buy list and say, hey, we're going to buy 8 of this. And we're going to hit save. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to move and copy to a buy list. So what you can do is you can select what buy list you want to move it to. You can choose to copy it, which will make a duplicate in that buy list that you have selected, so it stays in the one that you're looking at and working on currently. But for this scenario, you're reviewing their buys before they make the purchase, and you just go ahead and send that item to your actual buying buy list. Okay. Now, if you want to leave some feedback and reviews, this is where the product notes come in handy, or the buying notes. So you come in here, you're looking at this lead and you're like, okay, hey, 20 units is a little too much. Okay. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, change the item notes to, 20 is too many for how slow this item sells. Test by 10 and just test by 10. All right. So now you're leaving some feedback. Okay. You adjust the quantity to 10. So that way you're in control of how many they're actually purchasing. Save that. Then come in here. And you're going to move that bad boy over to your buy list. Okay. So you're giving your VA some feedback. They can come in here. They see, the feedback that you've left them. They see that you've adjusted the quantity to 10, and now they're learning while they're then placing the orders for you. Same thing here. You come into this one and you say, bad source looks to be a scam. Okay. And you can put in here, I don't think you can put a quantity of 0. Oh, I can. Perfect. You put a quantity of 0. That's good. I never tried that before, because why would you ever want a 0 quantity? But I'm glad now that they do that. So you put a quantity of 0 in there, right? And then you send this over to your, you can send it to your buying buy list, or maybe you have a do not buy list, right? And that's just where you're placing items that you're like, hey, I don't want you to buy this, but I want you to read the feedback on it, or I want you to read my notes. But even if you do send it to your buy list, maybe you train your person that if, oh, did I mess that up? I'm curious if it has 0. I might have found a bug. No, I didn't. Okay, perfect. So you train your person that if the quantity is 0, I don't want you to purchase this. I want you to read my feedback, and I want you to reject that item, right? Reject the item, and you can come in here and you can say, put a custom note on there that says, I don't know, you have to get creative. Do not buy, or poor buying decision. That might be a better poor buying choice.
Or just bad source looks to be a scam, and just take the same feedback from the product note.
Right. Bad source, scam. Reject that order. It falls off your buy list and it lives inside of the rejected folder of the buy list. So that way, if your team ever needs to look back, or you need to look back, you can see like, oh yeah, this source is a scam site, right? Or this feedback here. You can also do the same thing where even if you were like looking at a review, which I don't have you on here anymore, but maybe you have them add a buy list and you say, hey, reject this. I'm going to reject this item. And the reason I'm rejecting this, and then this is where you place your feedback to your team member. And you let them know, hey, check out the rejected folder so they can see everything that you did not like when you were reviewing. And then they have feedback. That's another way you can use Cheddarsoft to communicate with your team for now, until we build you a much better system that allows for communication on leads and other things that we have in the brain or in the idea board, but hasn't been built because there's other things that are taking pressing matters. So I hope that answers your question and kind of gives you a couple of tips. We tried to make Cheddarsoft easy enough to where you guys have some easy to simple to use processes, but also where you can get creative with it and you can kind of build in your own unique system with it. That makes sense, Grant? Did I explain that well? Did I talk too fast?
No, it makes sense. No, that's really good stuff. Absolutely.
Awesome. I think the reject list, honestly, it might be one of the better, I think that might be a better way if you don't want to have multiple buy lists and move it around. You just reject it and you add your reason for rejection, and then they'll be able to go back in and review that feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And even just doing that process kind of made me realize, like, wait, there's a better way I can do this.
Yep. No, there's definitely different ways to play with it. And yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I think we addressed on all the questions. Really good answers to concerns. Yeah, Cheddar Black. It's gonna be good, guys. It's gonna be good. We're beefing it up, making it more valuable than even last year. So it's gonna be awesome.
And if you're a newish seller, you got a year or two maybe in your belt, Cheddar Black is a great program because it gets you connected with other sellers. I'm not going to say it's a mastermind, but you're only talking to 150 sellers who are on the same journey as you are. And there are some sellers that sign up every single year who do some very solid numbers and give some fantastic advice inside of Black Chat. So if you're wondering, okay, well, what do I do? I've never heard of this Cheddar Black thing. I've never, my first Q4 was okay, but I feel like there's a lot more left on the table that I didn't capture. This is the package for you. I know so many sellers just came into that program as newish sellers. They're re-signing up and they're now on another level in their business. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Cheddar Black coming in August. Usually the public sale is around the end of August. You'll start to see some stuff popping into your inbox at the beginning of August. If you want to know more information, go to oacheddar.com and give us your email address so you can stay informed with everything we have going on. If you're watching this on YouTube, still head to the website, give us your email, but also like and subscribe this video. It's super helpful for us. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of these live reviews that we do and any other content that we come out with. Other than that, Grant, we've been on this for almost 2 hours now. We under promised and over delivered on this call for sure.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to just go ahead and wrap it up here. So for everyone who is on live with us, thank you. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Other than that, everyone, you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.